I recently made a video that really upset a lot of folks, and to be honest, I knew that it would. It was a pretty controversial subject, and as the saying I just made up goes, you can't sit on a wasp's nest without getting a swollen tuchus, so smear a little ointment on it and get back to work. In keeping with that folksy wisdom, I wanted to make this short follow-up video to clear up a few things, not just for the angriest commenters, because they aren't even going to watch this, but for my regular viewers who deserve an explanation. Now, if you missed that video, I'll put a link to it below. It was about the renewed push to regulate table saws, specifically to require saw stop technology or something similar on all saws sold in the United States. After decades of debate, this issue does appear to be coming to a head, and it's going to affect all of us. So I tried to give a balanced view, including the potential consequences, good and bad, of such a government mandate. Yes, I did raise some theoretical points that may or may not even happen, but the video was intended to start a conversation, and boy did it. Almost 6,000 of you left a comment sharing your point of view, including many who did disagree with my assessment that this has the potential to change table saws as we know them. Others, of course, just missed the point entirely, and they accused me of being either in the tank for big government or being against keeping people's fingers on their hands and their hot dogs safe in their refrigerators. I suppose if people from both sides of the issue are mad, it shows that you're somewhere in the middle. But to be clear, I'm not against any technology that makes table saws safer. And as someone who loves a good hot dog, I always applaud any effort to reduce the danger a table saw may pose to edible meats of any kind. Yes, sir. But there is more than one way to accomplish this. Take this table saw, for example. If I turn this on and I reach under here and I touch that blade, it is going to cut me. But I still use this saw with absolute confidence in my personal safety. Not because I'm one of those guys who thinks he's never going to make a mistake, or because I think only dumb and inexperienced people get hurt. Most of the nine-fingered woodworkers I know had their accidents after many years of safe table saw use. They were professional, skilled craftsmen, smart people who knew not to put their hand near the blade. But they were also human, and humans make mistakes even after 30, 40, 50 years of not making one. So how do I know that I won't someday make a mistake that costs me my fingers on this saw? Because I use the blade guard. I actually have two for this saw. I have the standard one, like this, and I also have a big floating one that goes over the blade. I love that one. Both options are better than blade breaks and flesh sensing technology, or whatever you want to call it. It's a big statement. How can I say that? Because blade guards not only keep you from touching the blade by the very fact that it covers it before, during, and after the cut, but they can also stop something that this other technology just cannot do. A blade break, or a blade guard, can protect you from kickback, something that is far more common than injuries from direct contact with the blade. I have spoken to thousands of woodworkers at live events. I've had comments from literally hundreds of thousands more in my dozen years on YouTube. That's a pretty good sample of the woodworking community. And from them, I've learned that the vast majority of table saw injuries are kickback related. That's when a workpiece pinches between the blade and the fence and gets ejected backwards. It can result in broken fingers, broken ribs, broken faces, and much worse. No blade break or technology that senses when your skin touches the blade can prevent the majority of table saw injuries because they do not prevent kickback on their own. The manufacturers know this. That's why you still get a blade guard, along with warnings that you have to use it with your saw stop, just like any other table saw. If you want to know more about how blade guards are the superior solution for preventing table saw accidents, both kickback related and accidental contact with the blade, I'll put a link to a video that I produced some time back below. You should watch it. It may change how you use your saw. But it wasn't my advocating for blade guards in my last video that really ticked people off. No, strangely enough, it was the ad I ran at the end of the video. I'm going to run it again here. Don't worry, it's only a few seconds long. But I just want to see if you notice what really upset a lot of people about it. Rich carbide is the best kept secret in woodworking. I kid you not, their saw blades are second to none, both in quality and performance, and they're less expensive than the other ultra premium brands. Do yourself a favor, use the link and the discount code below this video. You will never go back to cheap blades again. Did you catch it? I didn't have a blade guard on the saw. Now, a lot of folks just ran to the comment section to point that out. This is one of the more benign comments I got. This one's not bad at all. Some were pretty rude, calling me a hypocrite, saying I was selling my viewers safety for the sake of sponsors, or I didn't practice what I preached. The worst ones got removed because I don't have to provide a platform for abuse at my job here any more than you do at your job. But there were so many well-meaning ones that I decided to write a response that I could paste again and again because, yes, I do read all of these comments and I thought they deserved at least some explanation. I do not believe that anyone has claimed that every single cut can be made with a blade guard in place. Dados, grooves, other non-through joinery cuts, and even some very narrow rips, for example, may just require the blade guard to be removed. In my business as well, sometimes I do need you to see the saw blade better. I think the guard removed for clarity excuse is way overused, but there are times when it is legitimate. Who gets to decide what those times are? The user. That's the freedom you and I have. Hopefully you're like me and you use your guard for almost every cut. And hopefully, in the rare instance when you do have to remove it, you take other precautions, including installing some form of splitter or riving knife so you still have kickback protection, and using a pusher of some kind to keep your hands away from the exposed blade. Of course, it's also on the table saw manufacturer to start making it possible to easily remove and replace your guard, because the easier that is, the more likely people are to do it. And I do think it's shameful that many of the lower end saw manufacturers make guards that are flimsy and obstructive. They're not really blade guards, they're blade guard shaped devices. So I'm not going to come to your shop and shame you for exercising your right to decide what's the best practice for your saw. But I am going to strongly encourage you to use a guard for every cut possible, because I think it is the most responsible thing for me as a woodworking instructor to do. So, to that end, I'm going to do two more things. First, I'm going to look into affordable aftermarket options for those who do not have reliable blade guards and riving knives or splitters, even some homemade options. I'll make a video on that in the future. But I'm also going to go above and beyond to set the best example I can. So even though I do use a guard for the vast majority of my cuts, both off camera and on, I'm going to redouble my efforts to do so, including reshooting the unguarded cuts in that ad. The next time that ad airs, there will be a guard covering the blade. I'm also not guaranteeing that I will never use old footage that didn't have a guard, but in all new footage, I'm going to make a real effort to use it. Then the internet will be happy and we'll have only polite, reasonable conversations about important topics. Now see if you can find anything wrong with this next clip. 3M says their Cubitron 2 sandpaper is a revolutionary advancement in abrasive technology. What makes Cubitron paper different is the grit is made up of ceramic pyramids, which slice the fibers of the wood rather than plowing troughs through them like the grain of the tiny rocks that are found on other sandpaper. The result is an abrasive that works faster and stays cooler, so it lasts longer, significantly longer, like 5 or 6 times longer than the cheap stuff, and about twice as long as even other premium sandpapers. 3M Cubitron 2 destroyed Mirka, Klingspor, all the brands that are generally considered to be really good stuff. The Cubitron genuinely lasts a lot longer. I assume it must keep it cooler, perhaps it optimizes the way it cuts. I honestly don't understand how it works. It just works better than any other sandpaper I've used. All I can say is try it. Just one pack, you'll see what I mean. And if you do, please use the link below this video, which is to a small family business, and that business is well worth supporting.